Thanks for joining today's webinar. We're excited to talk about what your financial reporting dashboard may not be telling you. And this is the second webinar in a series of 3 webinars that we're hosting with Deloitte. So my name is Brian Zwallen, and I'm the SVP of Customer Success and Partner Relations at Arria, and I'll be your host for this event. So our agenda is going to kick off with a little context around who we are as individual professionals and organizations, and we'll discuss our solution to empower your organization with actionable insights to facilitate faster decision making. And we'll have a conversation with a super panel of experts around intelligent automation and AI and some live demonstrations today. And then finally, we'll close out with some time for Q&A. So now I'm curious to see if we're going to hear Ross's voice. So Ross is our Chief Product Officer at Arria and LG. He's also a co-founder. You can see his expertise in NLG. But next we'll move down on the slides here. We're going to move to the center of the slide. Our senior manager here, not here, our senior manager over at Deloitte of Intelligent Automation. He's got tons of expertise. He leads a team over there in Germany, where they've helped us bring numerous clients to production with Arria and LG. Stefan, welcome to the program.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for being here.
Yes. And also on Stefan's team, a very sharp lady. She's a consultant and she likes to roll up her sleeves and get involved with the technology. She's built some NLG models herself. Emily, welcome to the program.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here.
And we'll go on. So Arria NLG is a recognized global leader in natural language generation, or NLG for short. And it's an artificial intelligence technology in that it replicates the human process of expertly analyzing and then communicating the knowledge about your data. Arria has the highest amount of NLG expertise led by our chief scientists, Dr. Ehud Reiter and Dr. Yazi Zapata, who are 2 of the leading figures internationally in the NLG space. And again, I'm just thrilled to have our partner on the program today. Deloitte has implemented a solution, like I said, to many of our enterprise customers globally. And they have world-class expertise in eminence in analytics reporting. And it's this partnership that enables us collectively as a team to provide you with the best-in-class reporting solutions. And Arria NLG does the robotic tasks of creating reports. So you can free up your experts on more valuable tasks. So that's where you gain your operational efficiencies and improve the quality of life of a lot of employees. But also now you can scale your reporting, right? Because now you're automating the reporting. So now you'll have reporting at machine speed, and you'll be able to do more reporting, actually, and be able to do more frequent reporting. And if you connect your data sources directly to Arria NLG, you'll have like reporting on demand. Right, and that's where you get that speed to information. So you no longer have to wait till the end of the month because your data is already connected directly, maybe perhaps through a BI tool. So it's powered by NLG Studio. And what Studio does is it connects to your data source, as I mentioned earlier, through a RESTful API. So this is what's so flexible about this architecture. And you can connect directly, and the data will pass through a secure encrypted tunnel to NLG Studio, where Studio will then do the analysis based on an NLG model that you've developed, or maybe that Deloitte has developed for you or with you, and analyzing it in a specific way that's going to make sense to you. And it passes out the narrative back through the RESTful API to any presentation layer of choice. So that could be a BI dashboard. We're going to see some examples today. And you can see there's some examples on the list. You could pass things out through email, whatever that presentation layer might look like. Ross, what we can do next is maybe perhaps we can do a recap of the last session, just to kind of level set where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope a lot of you have rejoined from the first webinar, but I'll try and keep it quite brief. So last webinar, we talked about transitioning to self-service analytics by adding dashboard narratives. And we really split it into 2 parts. There was the data literacy topic and the self-service reporting topic. So just to recap briefly, we went over the benefits of data literacy. Primarily, if you have a more data literate organization, then your individual users will be able to ask the right questions. They'll be better able to understand and interpret their results. They'll be better equipped to test hypothesis, and ultimately they'll be able to communicate a consistent message to stakeholders. So that's a really important part of data literacy. And then we moved on to challenges, and we talked about that analytics is still very much a specialist skill. There's a huge plethora, a huge amount of data out there, and there's real need to decentralize decision making and data access. So they're kind of some of the challenges we talked about. And then we moved on to how to enable data literacy within an organization. And there's really a number of foundational things that you need to do there. So the first of those is really enabling the right training and tools within the organization to be able to manage and access data. Another is breaking down silos, so there is a single source of truth. Now, when you have that, it's really then about how to communicate the insights across the organization and really enabling that. So, when I say enabling, it's really about enabling to a self-service paradigm, and that's where we came to on the second part of the webinar. And we talked about the importance of narrative for self-service reporting. So really, the importance of narrative is around providing that communication and context aspect of data literacy by providing a comprehensible storyline to the data. So we talked about narrative being a natural way to communicate, and really the augmentation of visuals and dashboards with narrative is really key to enabling self-service reporting. So the benefits of that is, of course, increasing user adoption and retention of dashboards, and ultimately increasing the ROI and the investment in these tools. And then equally important is being able to increase confidence in localized decision making by individual users instead of highly trained data scientists or controllers. Right. So then, just to kind of wrap up, we talked about NLG as a key technology enabler, right, to drive the augmentation of dashboard visuals with narrative. And then, we outlined a number of high-level application areas for NLG. So today we're going to take a deep dive into one application area in particular, that's financial reporting. But before we do that, I'd just like to recap the Arria technology suites.
So if you had seen the poll, in fact, yeah, thanks, Jen. Jen's helping us out with the poll results. So we can see that in the audience here, 40% of the audience is using Tableau, 39% of the audience is using Power BI, 26% are using another one that was, or other, that has not been listed in the poll. And then we have 4% with TIBCO Spotfire and 4% with ClickSense. So that's interesting. And I do have, we do have demonstrations today in Tableau and in Power BI. So I'm not sure if Ross got back online, but I can actually touch on this. Oh, here he is.
I'm still here. So that actually poll result, Brian, is a great segue into the technology suite. So again, we went through this a little bit on webinar one, but just to reiterate, at the heart of our technology suite, we have Arria Studio, which is our configurable NLG authoring platform. And this allows the development of fully customizable NLG solutions that can be published and deployed within a single platform. But obviously, we see here from the call, we've got people working in Power BI, Tableau, a few others in TIBCO and ClickSense. We can actually bring the NLG experience from Studio into a number of different presentation layers. And I'll just go through it again very quickly from left to right before we get into the demonstrations. So first of all is Arria for BI. And this is our integration offering for BI tools. We have integrations for the top 5 business intelligence vendors. So that's Power BI, Tableau, TipsGo, Spotfire, Click, and MicroStrategy. And like Brian, you already mentioned, we're going to dive deep now with a few demos, one in Tableau first of all, and then Power BI. So I'm moving across here to Arria Energy apps. So Arria Energy apps are available via our integrations. They are out-of-the-box, no-code narrative solutions. We provide a number of different apps that provide analytical capabilities such as statistics, time series analysis, key driver insights, etc. And we're going to see a great demo of that in Tableau in a minute. Moving along, this is a really exciting part of our technology suite. It's our natural language query capability called Arria Answers, and this enables multi-turn dialogue with your data. So you can ask a question and get an instant insight. So again, moving along, we have Arria Connect. So Arria Connect is our software development kit, which allows customers and partners to actually build their own integration solutions. So they can use off-the-shelf UI elements, or they can use it in a headless fashion. So very powerful tool. And then, of course, for people who are using robot process automation, we provide an integration with UiPath for those use cases where you're looking to automate workflows and narrative. And then finally, we provide integration for Arria for Excel. So the most widely adopted business tool, analytics tool, it's still out there. We have a very strong integration with that as well. So really a huge amount of options to choose from on an integration perspective. But I think enough talking from me, and I think, Brian, we're going to now dive into a demo of Arria Energy apps in Tableau.
That's great, Russ. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to get into this demo here for Arria apps in Tableau. And in the interest of time, I'm going to go just a little bit faster than I normally do, because I really want Deloitte to show what they've done, because they've built something really cool inside of Power BI. So I wanted to point out to the audience that you can try this out today. You go to our website, go to arria.com/business-intelligence, and you'll see down towards the bottom of the screen the different integrations that we have there. Click on your dashboard, and you'll be able to download a showcase file. You'll be able to download the extension to plug directly into your dashboard. What that looks like, I clicked on the Tableau page here, and if I scroll down towards the bottom of Tableau, well, it looks like it just refreshed for me. You can get started right there. Get started with Tableau, and you click on that, and it's going to walk you through how you can install it. Now, getting into what the apps are, there's a great overview inside of our documentation. Once you run the extension, there's going to be a link to our documentation. It'll take you right here, but at a higher overview, what our NLG apps are pre-built NLG models with different types of analysis, right, depending on what you're interested in looking at. So you can see here through the different, there's 8 of them listed on the screen here. We have 2 more in the pipeline coming out soon. I'm going to give a demonstration on time-based variance today. And then notice in our documentation, you can dive deep into each one of these analysis tools to see your different options for configuring those. Great, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a Tableau dashboard. This is just a sample dashboard for sales information. Again, I'm going to talk about the time-based variance app, which you'll see in the middle of the screen here. And first, let me just point out what's being said inside the narrative. It's talking about sales variance over quarter, and that's configurable. That could be month over month or year over year, and I'll show you how you can switch that in a little bit. And then notice it's talking about, after it talks about the variation, it talks about what's driving that growth. So we see different products, and they're coming up to the top here. We're talking about top products. We even talk about a detractor, an offset, which this one product, Glower, has dropped in sales. Then what this narration is starting to do is it's starting to take a deep dive into each of these top products here. So we see Arria did this rise, and it was driven by a market called departmental. And then we see Neutrali and what was driving that. And we also see that Neutrali didn't do so well on the online segment. And you can see that that fell in the online segment. Now we're looking at this by product here, right? So this is sales by product. But if I'm in marketing, I might want to see, how are the different markets performing? So I'm going to show you how we can change that configuration. When I mouse over these ellipses over here, I can click on Arria NLG apps. And now I can get into the configuration piece. And what I'll do is I'll just make this larger so we can see what's going on. All right, and you can see that product was listed first. So if I'm in marketing, I might want to be looking at it from a market perspective. I'm going to go ahead and click on the preview. And now we're going to see the narrative has changed. There you go. So now we're looking at it by department. So we can see the markets, which was driving it. These products are driving it. We can see the offsets in those markets. Now, I might be interested in more information, so I can go ahead and drill down a little bit deeper. I'm going to go back to configuring my data, and I'm going to select another dimension. I'm going to throw country into the mix. So this takes me right back to the beginning of the screen. I'm going to go back to Arria apps. This is literally square one, where I can go, bear with me for one more moment. I didn't save it. So I go to country, scroll down to the bottom of the screen, save my changes, and now I'm at the very beginning. So I'm going to select Arria apps, and I have all the choices of the different apps that I want to look at. Again, we're working with time-based variants, so I'll just click on time-based variants, and you can see that country's been added. I'm just going to go ahead and set a little configuration in here. I'm going to give it an alias to refer to it as in the narrative. I'm going to use country in lowercase. Otherwise, it would use the header with an uppercase. And this is a location, right? And I think that's probably all I want to do there. In the options screen, I just wanted to point out, there's where we can change the time period. We're going to stay with quarter over quarter. We're going to compare the latest versus previous. We were looking at the top 3 entities to be listed, but you can see we can set, formulas to do some math on it to say, all right, if the top 10% contributing, those are the ones that I want to see listed. And then below here, we select the verbosity of the report. So we can have just some bullet points, we have important things, or we can get very long in detail. But I'm going to keep it at the important things. I'm going to click the preview. So go through the next step, and then I'll click generate. And then we're going to see how we've added country to this narrative. So you can see that we get into the department. And this growth it talks about the different drivers, and then here we talk about the different countries that are driving the sales in these particular markets with these products. And we can see France is the biggest contributor here, and then it goes on through the different products. And of course, if I scroll down, we're going to see the different markets and the different countries. What we'll do next is we'll go ahead and maybe Stefan, we're going to go ahead and get you to maybe comment on the benefits of NLG for self-serving analytics, and I'll bring up the slides again.
Yeah, cool. Happy to do so. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, let's get back to the slides in a second. Then you can follow me more easily. And I think what Brian already showed you was really impressive in terms of what is already there out of the box, what you can easily use for your use cases, for your dashboards. And what we are going to show you in a second is even going one level deeper here, using the studio application, which Ross already mentioned, and with a fully customized project to really show the value of NLG also for more complex dashboards. And so the visual should be familiar for you from our advertising and as well from the last meeting. And what we are looking for, and where we see where the value is coming out, is first of all creating a comprehensive storyline. And looking at the comprehensive storyline, we are talking about bring meaning to the data, not just showing data, but make data meaningful for any recipient of your report. The second part of value which NLG will add to your dashboard is you can focus there on information and not focusing on data, because data always need context and also need explanation, and NLG is perfectly suited to get data, bring data in the right context, and bring up the information which is hidden in the data to the recipient. Thirdly, it is also really from our experience, a good part to make the information in the data available to people and digestible to people who are not data experts. So usually controllers, that we're talking a lot to controllers, especially in the finance area, they are really happy to work with data, to shuffle in their Excel spreadsheets, look at some nice visuals and understand everything from the first second. But that is not true usually for all the recipients of your data, but all the other recipients need to drive your business and to steer your business, so make it digestible for them. And that in an easy manner, was also helping by dynamic filtering of the data to explain it. And last but not least, you can adjust your reporting to really your company specifics and explain what is relevant for your specific business. And as I now have a bit talked already about the dashboard, I would love to go ahead and really go into a live demo of the tool of what we developed here for clients. We call it the Camtastic company. So it's basically, so now we see an Outlook screen. Yeah, there it is. Perfect. So what you can see here is a Power BI dashboard, which was kind of developed for clients. This is an anonymized version of a real dashboard, which is used there also for the really C-level communication. And it's called the Camtastic company. And what you see here already is a multi-dimensional steering logic containing of different business units as well as of different companies, countries, and different steering dimensions. And Amelie will go a bit deeper into it and explain what you can see on the dashboard and how it is working with NLG.
Yes, thank you, Stefan. So here we have a Power BI dashboard, and this has been built around our three main KPIs of our P&L report, which is the net revenue, the gross margin, and net earnings. But behind in the data set, we not only have actual values, but we also have a monthly and a yearly view of actual data, planned data, a prior year data, and also year-to-date values. So as you can tell, this is a lot of data, a lot of numbers, and as a non-data specialist, it might be very hard for me to extract the most important information from that. And it might also be a little bit overwhelming. So our goal was to make everything easy to digest and also accessible for all kinds of addressees and not only data specialists or controllers.
Okay, can you maybe a bit elaborate on how did we structure the narrative to make it happen for the users?
Mm-hmm. So here you can see the Arria narrative for our dashboard. It gives us some summary data, some most important information, some most important figures. I can also see some percentage changes. And if I scroll down, I get to my next KPI, the gross margin. And here I can even see already what was my top performing business, for example, or my lowest margin drive in Europe. And there seems to be something wrong. So, okay. Yeah.
So where does this deviation come from? That I think from my perspective now, in the need of steering the company, it's really important to have a look at what happened there with the business in France. So I'm a bit worried about this business. So what can I do to go deeper into it?
Mm-hmm. So even though we only have green numbers here and everything seems to be fine, we have a red business alert here. And this comes from the fact that we added some underlying thresholds behind the dashboard. And once they get hit, a business alert gets triggered and it appears directly in the text. So I can see here that there might be something wrong in my country, France. So the narrative guides me or tells me to have a closer look into my regions. So what I want to do now is to filter down the dashboard to the France area, selecting it here in the bar chart simply. And you can see the narrative adapted to my filtering. So we now can see the Fantastic Corporation report for France only, so specific values for France. And scrolling down to my gross margin, where the business alert came from, we now have again our business performance alert. And it says that there's something wrong with my business medical, showing some negative numbers. And of course, now I want to find out where this negative number comes from. So I'm going to multi-select business medical and France. The text adapts again. And this brings me to an even deeper level of analysis. So not much of a summary here. We have really detailed information about our product groups that haven't been visible before. So I scroll down to my gross margin here. And so here I can find out about the reasons behind our deviation. And it might be an overarching issue, but here I can see it can be nailed down to the product groups even. So here I can see my drivers of variance in July for the gross margin. It seems like the product implants is doing just fine. But if I have a look at my product tools and product supplies, I can see there is the negative deviation coming from. So now we have gone into the third level of analysis, really found out about the reasons behind a deviation. And if I had only the dashboard, I would have not found out about this. So yeah, makes it easy to see the most important information.
Yeah, I think from this perspective, that's quite impressive how we can guide people from the top level, where it just states, okay, we have some issue medical in France is already stated, but being in the position of being responsible for steering the company, I need to get deeper, and I don't want to ask anybody just to do this kind of analysis, because it's right at the table, just some clicks away. And now it's much easier and much more focused for me. I can reach out to the respective representatives and responsibles for both of the product groups here and directly discuss with them what is happening there, what are the measures we can take without even need any focus on other product groups, because I know what's happening, where should I put my effort into to really make the performance for the company better. And that's the basis of discussion. And for sure, if we have even more data and more detailed and granular data, you can imagine there's also an opportunity to drill even deeper into it and go to the single product level if it is required. So what are the good and the bad products and where to focus that? So you can really go deep already by the dashboard and then ask the right questions to the right people to take immediate action to change it. I think that's really added value here, which helps also our clients to drive their business. And they publish it on a Tableau server version so that the respective recipients directly can look at the dashboard anytime and they get it explained and don't need to reach out to the controllers for each and every detail, but really to reach out for them for the most important measure setting. So, well, maybe as a quick summary. So what we have seen here, I was a bit elaborating beforehand on the comprehensive storyline, and I think that what you saw already in the beginning. So there's a nice summary it's nice and easy for everybody to read, and you have all the important information summarized here. The second part is in terms of bringing alerts up, which really helps people to focus on the most important part. So it was already right on the top level side that you saw, okay, we look at the overall dashboard and there's something wrong in France and we need to focus on France and medical business to really make it a better performance for the company. Next part is, okay, go deeper into the information, which is, okay, I go now into a specific country, for example, and we see business performance alerts. So the dashboard notifies me directly where is my performance going down and where do I really need to take action. And finally, looking then at the really detailed view here already. Imagine we are looking at a top level P&L dashboard, and we are able to drill down until the product groups here, and it tells you which product groups are performing really great and which cause the issue, so to take immediate action. So that as a summary for the dashboard and how it can help really to drive your performance if you incorporate energy into your dashboard and bring it out to the respective people. Having said that, I think, Ross, maybe Brian, maybe it's time to look at the results of our second poll. So looking, what are people using BI for currently?
There you go. That's great. Yep. And thanks for everybody responding in this poll. And I'm not surprised that 68% of the audience is using it for financial reporting. We're seeing a lot of market pull there. And then the next highest one, well, other is a bigger category, so that's in 40%. But then the next highest one here is human resources. Again, makes perfect sense. Great application for using automation and BI. And augmented analytics. It's a great use case for NLG for sure. And then we see 16% at IT service management, yep, and then 12% in the supply chain. And I suspect supply chain might be even higher, but it just might be who's in the audience today. We're seeing a big disruption, obviously, in the supply chain in the world today. And so, you know, Stefan, this is great to get this kind of response. And, you know, people have seen a lot today. And it's hard to absorb it all in one sitting, especially, you know, what you've showed us and what you've built inside of Power BI there with that level of detail and be able to drill down and get the information at your fingertips. So I'm sure people are really interested in, and this came up in our last webinar, on how to get started. So what would that look like from your point of view, and how could you guide them into getting started?
Yeah, happy to go on it. And that's how we are really able to get started quickly. And we have developed a quick starter approach here, which we currently do with several of our clients who are new to the topic of energy, but have already the first dashboards at hand, so that we developed an approach to get a POC running quickly and easily with the client data. In a short period of time. So most of the time, a bit depending on the use case, I can go into use cases in a second. We are able to really deliver an interesting result within 4 to 6 weeks. And then you as a client have the opportunity to just see how it is working with your own data and how it really enhances and brings value to your own dashboards, and you can try it out with your recipients, how they deal with the information provided. So maybe, Brian, should I quickly go through what are the most important topics in the different phases? Does it make sense from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. And we still have some time, so yeah, please.
Okay, cool. So what we usually advise also our clients, and what we jointly do, we look at the different kind of reportings which they have at hand, and look that we don't start with the most complex one. So we usually select one of the dashboards with is medium to low to medium complexity one, but has a lot of business impact. So currently, for example, a sales dashboard, which many people look at, and which is really important for people, what is coming in, how our sales doing. That's a good use case, for example, to get started and explain people what's happening on a daily or bi-weekly basis, depending on how often your data get updated. So that's the first one. So select one use case which is not too complex but has a lot of business value, to really show that there is a lot of value for you in deploying energy to your dashboard and adding it. Second part here is then doing a proper analysis of your data. So really figuring out what are the most relevant KPIs which you show. Most of the time it's already there in your dashboard, but really figuring out which kind of KPIs do you want to comment on to help people understand what's happening, and not only to explain the KPIs by itself, but also to sort out how is the KPI and driver logic looking like, so that we really can go into the data and into the explanation based on a KPI driver logic tree to really make data understandable. then in the business concept phase, and it's phases, but it's not too long. We can narrow it down to really some days in most of the cases. It is all about identifying what are the reporting relevant information topics based on the use case. So a more standardized use case, for example, in terms of statutory reporting, requires not so much variance. It should be quite stable and similar each and every time. On the other hand, if you have a more business-oriented dashboard, a bit of flexibility in the narrative makes it much more readable and it's not so robotic. So it's really added value that your recipients get it. And that brings me to the second point. Designing the narrative is based on both. It's about what is the use case and the information which should be provided, but on the other hand, who are the recipients and what kind of information do these recipients like, or do they need a different level of detail? So we also developed already dashboards where you could select what level of detail do I want to see, so that the recipient can select what kind of information he or she needs. And then finally, we implement this custom narrative into your dashboard using Arria Studio. And we had really good experience with working jointly on this kind of projects to make it happen for the client. And if you ask yourself now, how big is the hurdle to get started? Basically, there's no hurdle to get started. So we have jointly a sandbox which we can use for such kind of POCs, just to relieve any kind of hurdle and get started quickly as soon as your dashboard is there and we can get started. So that just as a quick overview, how you can really, as a company, you don't need to wait for long. You need to work on it for months to get started quickly and see the immediate benefit for you.